Now, again, just kind of reminding everybody, this is Neeb's end of turn because we had forgotten that we had swapped him and Drogo last time on account of the fact that Drogo had his, I guess, ally no-show. It was a bit awkward. But to be perfectly clear, this is a best of 5 to win the actual game and all that, and that's good and well and done. But this is also for tile control on the board. So if puCK wins this best of 5 defensively, he will retain tile control for the Tal'Darim. If Neeb wins it, he'll claim it for the Templar. More into that in a moment. Let's get these intros out of the way. Zombie Grub's finally back! And I've been here the whole time. Ladies and gentlemen, Rifkin and Zombie Grub coming at you with the Civil War, sponsored by Yord and their wood watches. In the top left side of Rakshir, we've got the blue player, Ting's Neeb.
In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, he is puCK.
Oh, I also should probably check in with said sponsors if we're going to have another watch giveaway today. Or coupon code thingamajig.
Alrighty then.
Because if you guys missed it last time, we gave away a $150 coupon code, which was basically going to give you one of the watches on the lower side of things for free, or you get one of the more expensive ones on the real cheap. But anyways, to quickly go over this, once again, Tal'Darim have skins for this tournament, so everybody, and every time you see puCK, Hearthstone, or Showtime, they're going to look really cool. Templar have a couple of additional skins, but really they're not really entirely reskinned, so while they are still objectively cool, they're not as cool.
Yeah, they're, cool sometimes. Well, I can't.
Did you see the results of the map test tournament yesterday, by the way?
I have, yes.
So what did you think about Neeb losing to Nurchio?
I mean, I don't know. It wasn't too surprising. I didn't actually watch the games. I just saw the results.
Meant the result. Yeah, I wasn't talking about like specific games.
Yeah, I don't think that's that surprising. Neeb's pretty good, but Nurchio's been on a real roll, so... Didn't they fight at DreamHack too?
One of them. I don't remember which DreamHack it was because they're both right next to each other.
Tor. Like
Yeah.
I think, Neeb was on the way to Nurchio's path to almost greatness. I guess he's losing out to Showtime in the last game, but that's even I guess how I would have probably called it. I don't remember the score, but so. Yeah.
Well, I was just bringing it up because, Neeb is, I think, for me, in almost every time I see him, the guy I'm going to put my heart vote into. Like, he's just been playing so well, and I would have expected him to do better than he did. I think in this PvP tournament, though, him and Drogo really are the all-stars. Neeb because, well, we haven't actually seen him play yet, but we expect it. And Drogo because he just kind of surprised us with how great his PvP ended up being on day one. Let's not forget, he had to fend off 2 best-of-5s, and he won 1, only to lose the other one barely in the ace match.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting about this tournament, though, other than almost any other tournament, maybe like Clan Wars and stuff aside, is that because this is going to be lasting for such a long time, potentially, and we're not going to get, one day after another bing, bang, boom, that there's going to be, days or weeks where someone's PvP is going to be better or worse.
That's true.
So, Drogo might have been like, wow, I had a hot streak that day, let's bring me out again, number 1, and then he might just lose every single time and be like, okay, maybe I got to take a back seat now.
By the way, speaking of that, since there is the potential for this tournament to go on an extraordinarily long time, we would love for this to stretch over 3 or 4 different casts, ideally. But let's assume, in some weird hypothetical, everyone keeps attacking into Rakshir. Nobody wins this map, and it's always trading out back and forth. I do have plans for sort of sudden death. I don't want to reveal them on stream, because the players will then hear about them before it actually comes into effect. But we've got plans to make sure that this doesn't go on forever, guys.
Yeah. I mean, we could have Take TV's tournament, be the longest running tournament ever. Just because, nothing ever happened for 6 months. We could have tried that. I don't actually think we should have. Just to make it clear.
I have confirmation, by the way, we will be giving away another $150 Yord code today. So that's pretty awesome. I'll have to tell Take TV about it, but to understand how that's going to work, guys, if you go to woodwatches.com/base and you request a discount code, you don't actually have to buy anything, but you fill out the form there as if you're requesting a discount code. The addition to the giveaway, though, is they ask you to include your Twitch name. Then at the end of the stream, I think today when we do this, we're going to restart the stream with no delay. And when we do that, we'll pick the winner. Because last time with the delay, it was really difficult to select the winner.
Yeah. I remember that. Well, this game has, I guess, evolved into a kind of interesting point. Yeah, kind of. I mean, Protoss was Protoss unless there's some serious action going down, like early on, like proxies or any type of like one base attack. It does have a I guess a slower mid game as they both get ramped up on two, probably three bases.
It's got the slower mid game, but what I find really interesting is a lot of the late games been looking very similar. A lot of Blink Stalker disruptors, not a whole hell of a lot of Phoenix variations. Drogo was the only player we've seen, frankly, even outside of this tournament, to try and do anything else, like the Charge Lad Archon's, I guess, more Korean style of PvP.
Yeah, we've been like lucky enough to see that tried at least from Drogo, but he did just kind of have to give up on it. It wasn't really working out, and just went back to Blink Immortal, and then eventually into those disruptors. Now, as I said, like okay, they're gonna get to their mid game and their naturals and their thirds apparently without much to be said from either opponent. But once the thirds are established, this is usually where we see the pressure really piled on. So puCK looked pretty good. He did defend, or no, he took over. That's right. Yeah, he attacked into Rakshir, so that's why he's there now. By bringing back a best of 5.
That reminds me too. But first off, I love that the sport person got caught by puCK. He was really trying to make sure it didn't escape. But quick reminder to everybody: if you miss any of the days for this, or you miss any of the games, I'll be updating on the live report thread, or I guess the Team Liquid thread, not the live report thread. In the second reply to the post, pictures of the board game at the end of the day, and I'll be doing recaps of who took what games were played, etc., etc. So in the first one, you can see the order, Hearts, Drogo attacks, Drogo defends, that sort of thing. But anyways, attack does go down here on the right side. Neeb's actually got units coming out of that Warp Prism. This was stuck in that corner for so bloody long. The Adepts end up soaking up a lot of damage. Look at the Stalkers wasting shots into them. They have to kill them after all. Loses the Immortal. That was kind of the advantage he had going into this. Blink's still going to be really, really nice, but both players playing with said Blink. 2 Immortals now for Neeb, and I think puCK's in a lot of trouble as that third base is going to go down with very little to no resistance.
Yeah, he looks like he's just going to try and counter and take down Neeb's third as he realized that army is too strong for him after losing the Immortal and a couple of Blink Stalkers as well. I mean, that was a really cool attack by Neeb. To go behind, like especially the Immortal wasting a bunch of shots on those Adepts, really quite worthless for puCK's army, but great for Neeb. So he does counterattack. He brought only his Stalkers, which makes sense. Otherwise, he might have lost something on the retreat. He is unfortunately unable to get a cancel on the third base, though. So
that would have been a nice way to try and even this up too. Like it's just a little bit of like eye for an eye type logic going on, but Neeb's standing army looks fantastic. puCK does have upgrades going for him. We'll see if those come into too much of an effect. But a lot of this is going to go towards Immortals, but of course, if eventually Disruptors. And those don't require upgrades at all.
Yeah. No, they do not. Okay, so Neeb is very shortly behind on those Disruptors of the Robotics Bay coming down. But I was going to, mention that there are definitely, like, it's not like they're transitioning per se. Like, there's still, like, core composition is going to be Blink Stalkers, but adding in these Disruptors can sometimes be the death of Protoss, as we've seen not yesterday, the last time we played out this Civil War. Is that, like, if you try and transition and you have, like, 1 or 2 Disruptors, okay, yeah, they can be great, especially if you can get up to a great count of them where they're continually throwing out their attacks, but you miss 1 or 2 shots and suddenly the Immortal count or the higher Blink Stalker count from your opponent can actually kill you. Yeah, but if they're both going to be going for it, then they should just be kind of just poking and prodding, but not really killing each other. We do have puCK, I guess, adding on a much earlier second Robo, but that's probably going to just be pretty useful. I'm not sure he's going to die for it.
Well, upgrades in his favor for the time being, so any Stalker fights he should be able to scrap out decently with, unless he gets outnumbered like down here. What I'm noticing though in the top right is that Warp Prism for Neeb once again kind of sneaks around, and that Adept run-by / drop-off was so sick in that last fight, and it took so long to clean up. I don't know that he's going to run into the same problems again, but it's an option for certain.
I'm surprised he's backing off from that fight with 4 Immortals. Probably expecting Neeb's Immortals to be joining the fight shortly, or just didn't want his sentries killed, or something alike. It was a lot of Blink Stalkers, but 4 Immortals can really chunk through that. But we also have a couple Disruptors on the way already. So coming out 2 at a time, Neeb has to be very careful about, seeing one and thinking, okay, I can blink on top of this, and actually accidentally just getting destroyed by the second one. And with 2 at a time, and a consistent 2 at a time production, as puCK does have his third base back up, this should be going into just that territory, the Blink Stalker Disruptor. And that's going to mean Neeb's lack of double Robo production, might be a problem for him soon. Ooh, bubbles.
Looks pretty. For those who don't know, talk about that model really quick. We do have, a completely different model. It's the old Disruptor slash the original version of it slash the Replicator slash whatever beta alpha version of Legacy of the Void you may have seen in the past. But this is a Disruptor, and I think it looks similar enough that it should need a lot of examples made for it. Now, again, that Warp Prism's got 2 Immortals in it. This is a really expensive part of Neeb's army to segment off, and dangerous, frankly, to take that much away from it. However, dropping these behind enemy lines, throwing these on top of a mineral line, that can be devastating. Neeb also loses his 1 Disruptor, and while he may have taken a good early start in this game, puCK certainly seems to have control over here in the middle of the field.
Yeah, it seems like it. He's just gonna have so many disruptors. There's no way that Neeb will be able to push in confidently, at least, with his own lack of disruptors. So he does that on a second Robo, much later than puCK's. We'll see if he can catch up or just keep this control. Because having a 4th base and having overwhelming stalker numbers, I mean, is also pretty cool. That was a nice snipe.
It certainly was. Focus fire on top of these disruptors isn't too bad either. Gets all the sentries with that last one though on a puCK, and he's still got 3 more disruptors where that came from. So Neeb's got to back away from this fight. I do want to point out that Warp Prism I was so intrigued in the top right didn't go in until only just now. So he's not really going to catch puCK super off guard. And puCK, by the way, I love that he's like, I don't want any harassment on this base whatsoever.
That could have been his 4th, which he is now pretty far behind on compared to Neeb, but instead it is really nice defense. There goes his 4th now, actually, not in the corner as we see Neeb doing, which is a little bit interesting. I guess Rakshir, you can really go for both. They're pretty out of the way.
I saw the Dark Shrine in the production tab for Neeb. I thought it was kind of cool. I didn't really notice the Zealot charge, though, and I'm wondering if this will really have great effect or not. Because charge lots, well, good. There we go for a flank. Might not be too bad. Gets it on 2 different sides, but the Disruptor's getting some big ol' hits. So we'll see if that's going to be enough to slow puCK down. He continues to walk away from this. The Immortals are getting chunked away by those Zealots. Actually, the Zealot's proven to be really effective in this engagement. I mean, puCK even has an upgrade lead, and he can barely take this fight. He's got to walk the hell away.
I think it's known that charge lots can be very effective against, specifically Immortals, but as well as the Blink Stalkers, as long as they can actually reach them. The problem is usually, especially compared with someone like puCK, who's going for like double Robo Disruptors, is that one of the Disruptor shots should get like a huge clump of the Zealots, and then you just, you're out of luck. You just warped in a bunch of things that just died. But with the back attack, and I think just the positioning that puCK wasn't expecting Neeb to have, that worked out really well. So again, Neeb's like Warp Prism and just situational awareness really working out for his fight there. But the game is still pretty damn even after they chunked away at each other's armies with Disruptor shots and Zealots. Army supplies even, bases are now even.
Yeah, that second wraparound was so sick, too. I mean, he did that once earlier. We saw that with the Adepts, and it was like a very minor version. But that was like a straight-up flank.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And, of course, puCK has to be very afraid of that, too. Because, I mean, now as Disruptors on the back line, like, imagine if Zealots came on top of them. That would just be very, very unfortunate. But here's some of the Dark Templar harass. As we said, though, puCK has already been, like, he's getting his cannons up, at least his 3rd. One of his 4th covers against at least 1 DT, no problem. And Neeb, I mean, he's probably got to go towards the main. Even the main has cannons in the mineral line, but he could send them off and kill a couple of pylons or gateways.
I like that puCK's done this, though. I feel like it's almost in anticipation of Neeb. But even with these first couple cannons going down, there are 3 more behind it, and they'll go, whoa, that's so dangerous.
Damn.
Just reminding everybody, Disruptors do friendly fire.
Yes, they can't kill themselves or their buddies, but they can kill everyone else.
That's something that doesn't make sense to me either, because they can kill other Disruptors. You're like, okay, we just turned off the programming for these specific ones? Yeah, right, Protoss. Like, you're that technologically advanced.
Well, they had to... I guess that almost seems like a leftover when they used to have to be actually themselves pushed into the army.
Right?
If you guys remember that way back when. Because now it's hardly ever an issue, and if it is an issue, then you definitely messed up, so...
Unless you can take, like, the sickest bait. You put, like, 2 Disruptors in the middle of like, Zealots, hoping they all charge into it. You're like, psych, I was blowing myself up all along.
That would have been pretty... I mean, that might have happened in this game, right? Or Neeb's actually going for charge lots, but...
well, had in the past going for charge lots. I really like, actually, that he very exclusively went for them, too. Like, it sounds silly to describe it like this, but part of it is if he could continue to invest minerals in it, look how tight his income is right now. Look how tight his spending bank has been. Like, he actually doesn't have the money to frivolously warp in a bunch of Zealots. Funny enough, too, by the way, that army supply difference, I didn't even realize how just different it had gotten. Right now, puCK's actually fighting down here with the full force of his army, and Neeb's almost got half of his army capable enough to take that on.
Well, all the Disruptors there, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as he doesn't take a big hit from, like almost just did with puCK's Disruptors, he splits at the last second there as well. then this can hold on to this position for a very long time. So he saves his 4th base while just straight up killing puCK.
Oh no!
That was a lot of probes. That was a lot of probes. I mean, damn, how much?
Oh, but that disruptor shot gets like 5 disruptors.
I had no idea. Neeb got up to 13 disruptors. He just lost 4.
Well, this
but
is what I was
still
saying.
At 9.
He had split his army in half, and half of his army was like the size of puCK's full army.
Man. For someone who was so late to the disruptor party, he's really been bulking them up. So he saves his 4th, but oddly enough, cannot save his 3rd.
We're in like base trade territory.
A little bit. Neeb, unfortunately, is not doing anything with his other army. There it goes moving now, because you're right, like, it is probably going to base trade. Like, time is of the essence here. I like that Neeb already was going for a 5th base, I suppose, though. Now it's going to be just another base that puCK has to actually get to and kill.
Focus Fire's not too bad. We got Zealots chipping away with those really cool skins. And, of course, Warpin's trying to hold on to this for Neeb as long as possible. He is bringing the army back home, and this is where it gets a little bit awkward for puCK, because now he's going to be fighting in his opponent's base, defending against an attack from the backside. The Archon's also going to be capable of soaking a lot of hits here, but puCK bled out some of his disruptors. Neeb still has a lot. As you had mentioned before, 13 before anything even went down. He still got 8 despite losing so much at home defensively. I love the idea to try and take the top of this ramp, though. It's probably the best defensive location he could hope for. But Stalkers blink in, they focus fire down the disruptors, and that's going to be it for puCK's army. I don't think he's got the money to remake this. He would have to trade this out 1-for-1 to the very bitter end, and I don't think that's possible.
Maybe at least try and take down all the disruptors. You're right, because like trading with the stalkers isn't going to happen. They're actually caught in a corner now, so disruptors get easy hits. And that's actually might just be the end of the game here. Of course, puCK's not going to tap out quite yet, since his army, he still has like, you know, somewhat of an economy. He knows that he could have at least 1 base of Neeb, so it might still be even. And if we look at the numbers here, it's really not like, okay, you have to tap out, like you're going to waste your time, because he certainly isn't.
If he didn't have this many disruptors back at home and it was only building stalkers, I think that's where he contemplates like this looks no good. But it's 8 to 9 disruptors, and the stalker count can be considered irrelevant depending on how they get used. But what Neeb's been doing a lot of this game are like split attacks, whether it's flanking from 2 different angles, whether it's straight up attacking one half of the map while defending the other. So he has no problem getting split. He has no problem fighting with a lesser army, because he's been doing it this whole game.
Yeah. Now, puCK did not have an observer for a lot of that time. Actually wondered if Neeb was going to send any DTs in, as he noticed with his own observer, but that never happened. Didn't really have to happen. Neeb was already cornering his army anyway, but now keeping observers in their armies respectfully, I suppose they're both like getting more, as well as they realized Dark Shrines could have been a problem. Neeb's actually gets sniped, so puCK doesn't have to deal with that anymore, but puCK still has his.
Reminder, by the way, both players got to +3 upgrades not too long ago, so not really any not too much difference for the stalker versus stalker aspect of this.
Yeah. Continuing just fight out in the middle here. The fact that Neeb, I think, has like a hidden base up here is a pretty big deal. It's actually defending it, just using that ramp. I mean, that's it's the interesting thing about this base as opposed for Neeb is that it is just one ramp. Not much else you can do.
While we were watching that fight trade back and forth with disruptors, puCK had gotten a DT into this mineral line and killed 13 probes. This brings Neeb down to 26, which is manageable, but their probe counts are going to become strangely relevant / irrelevant as time goes on. Obviously, you don't need 32 workers if you're only mining off of one base, but Neeb's trying to mine off of more than one base. So 28 workers, currently not enough.
Well, puCK does know about that base. That's where he's going, actually. Neeb did lose the position on top of the ramp, but still with a nice army here, he's actually going to be able to sandwich on puCK's.
It's funny just how much of like a split-second difference these disruptor shots make. Like if yours gets on top of them like a 0.01 second beforehand and detonates, your disruptor will live, theirs won't. So awkward trades going off back and forth, just trying to keep everything back while he kills the base. Nexus is going to go down. It's noteworthy 19 more probes died. This is where all his mineral mining probes were. He has gas going in the south, but he had to pull off of that recently to get minerals back. So Neeb's now down to 11 workers, and puCK might just be bringing this game back. He's still behind in army supply, which is really awkward to look at this point. They just blinked into a corner. I don't think he expected that to happen. Oh no.
Well, I think he just looked at his situation and it was like, I actually don't know how I'm going to escape here. As far as they escape to the right, though.
It's interesting because right now, I don't know that he really needs to just yet. Neeb's not really pressuring any of his own bases. Yeah. So puCK being stuck up here is not the end of the world. It's not good, obviously, get out of there, but it's not the end of the world just yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
DT's going to take out that cannon, no chance of defense. This Nexus is absolutely going to go down, and this is Neeb's last mining base.
Yeah, he has minerals, I suppose, in his main base, and maybe enough to get a Nexus. Yeah, he actually has enough to get a Nexus, so hopefully to send his 8 probes back there and try and get enough to get another base, but of course he still has to increase his probe count to do that off of just 2 Nexus, and that could be a problem. And puCK, as you were saying, his economy still is the one being hurt here. I'm surprised that Neeb isn't sectioning at least like a couple of Blink Stalkers off to that base to try and harass, as there's no cannon behind there. He actually absolutely could.
He did. He had 3 Stalkers sitting over there, but the high ground kept getting stripped away, so he wasn't able to sit up there for too long. Stalkers who decided to just blink in, though, take the fight. Disruptor shots are not going off. puCK now might be best off just blinking out and running the hell away, trying to get as much of the army out of here as possible. Neeb tried to anticipate this too with that second disruptor shot. That was really cool to see, but puCK is going to lose the rest of his army. Neeb's got no bases and Neeb's got no money, but does puCK realize this? And more importantly, can puCK do anything about it? Back at home, he has been producing 2 disruptors at a time. He's really hoping to take a defensive fight, but he's the only one mining minerals right now, as this map gets to a very desperate state of this PvP.
I think puCK was intentionally trying to hit those observers, by the way. Like, maybe thinking that you wouldn't notice or something, and he could start warping in his own DTs, but one still lives, so that didn't quite work out. His DTs are still wreaking havoc, by the way. They're actually getting into the natural. They could kill the Robos. It's
funny because it is kind of irrelevant for the most part, but this actually might come down to a game where it's decided by buildings. Yeah, I mean, that's the potential, right? Like, there's actually no capability for Neeb to build anything else. He can't build an extractor or an assimilator or nothing. He's long-distance mining.
Try.
Yeah. Whereas puCK, he's got
more minerals.
If puCK wanted to, he could still actually build some stuff around the map. Not much, but he could.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Neeb. No. There's only Nexus are the ones they left behind, so Neeb's gonna try and clean up the DTs, which he can. He actually brought a very appropriate amount of Stalkers back to do this. He got an Observer out as well. He got an Observer out last second, so he has at least 2. Actually, he has 3, so he should be good on that front. puCK with only 1 would get his Observer sniped before every single one of Neeb's would.
It's really interesting to me just how much puCK has, I think, misunderstood. Neeb has no income. Disruptor's gonna hit the probes, yeah. So puCK's now left with 3 mineral patches, and that's what he's mining from currently. That's not a lot of money to work with. Mothership core in some variety. Please use this. Don't just leave it there.
What? Wow.
But this is, I gotta say, I didn't expect it to get down this tight. I love that we had this happen on Rex Sheer of all maps to have such a back and forth game on a map that is inspired by a back and forth scenario.
Yeah, that is, yeah. But, oddly enough, neither of them ever took the gold bases, which is kind of supposed to be the reason it's back and forth and you're fighting around those rocks. No one ever bothered breaking down the rocks, speaking of. And
actually, I'm surprised not trying to long distance mine from the gold either, because this location, I think, from the get-go would have been easier to defend as well, but regardless of that point, the Archon in the front line is going to add so much just tankability. I don't know how you want to phrase it into this army.
That's interesting. I wonder why Neeb, in his last amount of minerals and, well, I guess he has enough gas, went for a mothership. I guess because in the event of another base trade, Potent Overcharges could save all of his buildings. Well, that's smart.
I think he's recognized this as one of the only options puCK has left to him as well. Very scared to push in here. If Neeb realizes that there's only a cannon defending, he can easily push this in. But now probe's been pulled to the south. puCK doesn't have enough money to queue a Nexus anywhere, so those will be at best just building pylons or simulators around the map.
Yeah. I think Neeb's got this as long as he doesn't lose all of his buildings, which I really don't think is possible. That's part of his army back at home as well.
I mean,
Jesus.
Okay, well that's probably it for puCK. I was gonna say, even if it came down to a straight up race. Oh, I love the Immortal up here. Even if it came to a straight up race, Neeb has more Stalkers, so like killing buildings is a non-issue for him, I feel.
Yeah, it would just be like slightly more buildings, especially with puCK going around the map with his probes. But
I mean, puCK has only just barely lost his PvP. I want to stress that for everybody involved. Right? Like this was not a one-sided game.
And he still hasn't lost it technically. If he could make it so what's the word? Just like adrenaline rushing and like making mistakes and just action packed, then maybe disruptors really do change the game. Like if Neeb feels he has to base trade for whatever reason, which at this point he really never has to. Like the army back at home is too powerful. Then Neeb might make a mistake and like blink into these disruptors or something. But Neeb could actually start building again if he really wanted to play out the super long game. I mean, he's been building probes.
Yeah, as you say, he's been building probes. He wants to do something with the economy. Thank you to Prevail 420 for the 11-month resub. Quick shoutouts there. Had Twitch alerts off. I got that back on now. Sorry about that, guys. But Sokka's getting picked off is really bad. This was really like everything puCK had to maneuver with.
Yeah, it's really just those few Stalkers that you saw right there and these 2 Disruptors and a Mothership Core, I suppose. But it's not gonna help too much.
It's interesting. With Control the Watchtower, he actually had like a better potential fight there, but unfortunately, as we can see, it's only potential and not practical. No protection, so it's going to go to the unit tab for the moment, guys. We do watch Neeb mine out the last 2 mineral patches of his main. I guess he's been dumping every bit of money like into not thinking about a Nexus. And that's kind of okay, I feel, for this situation. He's quickly now realized puCK also has no money.
Yeah. Oh, there go the disruptors, and this is now you tap out. There's no way you're gonna win unless you have some like a significant amount of splash.
Cannon!
Yeah, and photon overcharges. I hope he just walks into him.
Where is the mothership? Yeah, so I guess because he is banking on Neeb making a mistake, but yeah, GG gets called. Congratulations to Neeb, who will take game 1 in the series. But this is a best of 5, and one game does not win him the tile yet. puCK still has several games to come back on, and I'm not saying today will be like our last one, but in every single situation we had, it was a reverse or just a back and forth, or basically game 5 every time. We're going to go to a small break, though, while we sort out this next game, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you guys soon. Alright guys, thanks for watching that break. So, we do have a bit of a problem where we've learned recently, for whatever reason, there are some issues loading maps, and when this happens, people have to go to like the other server for whatever reason. It doesn't matter whether you're from Europe or native to North America. Like, you'll have to go to the other server to download the map for some reason. Hashtag BattleNetBugs. By the way, also look at Zombie Rope's cat. Isn't he just so cute?
Oh yeah, he's just so adorable. Oh, it's my pillow. He uses my arm as a pillow.
Oh, little Apollo. How old's your cat? How old is he?
It's a good question. 4 years old, I think. 3 years.
No, so he's still kind of youngish. Like a teenager.
Actually, I didn't realize how old he was, to be honest. It's been a while.
Oh, he's adorable. So yeah, anyways, puCK took a hard loss in that first game because it was pretty darn close. But to recap for where we're at and what's going on while we wait for TakeTV to get things relogged and sorted, we'll go to the board real quick and show you guys what exactly has been going on. So Harsum and Drogo recently died, and that's why they went back to their capital cities. Hi everybody. Bonjour. And Lil Bao also stands on the ready. So Lil Bao's already moved. What could happen here is Showtime's the last player is going to move. So here's how I predict this ends up going, right? Like, let's say Neeb actually knocks puCK out and he takes back control of Rakshir. Showtime can then attack into him. But what could happen here, this is where we start talking about tactics for the board game. They could start looking at taking tiles other than Rakshir and fighting around it or near it or just trying to claim tiles on the board, because there are 2 win conditions to this tournament. One is either controlling 12 tiles on the board at any given time or capturing your opponent's capital city. So if this becomes a problem where just it's constantly fighting over Rakshir and each team is sacrificing one player to fight into it over and over and over again, another player on the board, like Lil Bao for example, doesn't actually have to attack Rakshir. He could go to Habitation Station, and then Star Station, and then Dust Towers, and just claim more tiles. And if at any point Blue controls 12 tiles on the board, and that includes their capital, Red will lose, regardless of how well they're fighting in the middle. But even if, with these sort of ideas in mind and conditions set, there's still the possibility of this going back and forth through Rakshir forever. I do want to again stress, we've got win conditions and sort of like sudden death stuff set up. It's just, don't worry. This tournament will not go on indefinitely, but we do ideally want to go on for like 3 or 4 days-ish. And I think that's something we can totally accommodate at the current rate at which it plays.
My leg is so uncomfortable.
I was gonna say, I just realized you sitting there like that can't be, because is your leg tucked under your other leg, or is it just hanging over the chair? See, that's where it's gonna hurt. That's when it's gonna start falling asleep. Your blood flow is gonna get cut off. So, Zombie, we've got some downtime. Regale us with tales of your wedding adventure. How was it? How's the, I guess not your husband, someone else's husband?
Well, I mean, they're like, you know, my best friends, so he was pretty cool.
He's alright. Give him like a 5 out of 10.
So like Friday we went to basically the bachelorette party was us going through the street and like bar hopping / restaurant hopping, and that was pretty fun. Not much else to say about that, I suppose.
You went bar hopping and there's no stories? I don't believe that.
Nah, I didn't really drink all that much. I don't know what it like. I like felt sick pretty early, so like not like, you know, like I was like really drunk, but just like one drink and I was like, my stomach doesn't feel good, so fuck this.
Okay, that's awesome.
So I gave up. You're ready to go. And then Saturday was the rehearsal dinner slash rehearsal, whatever. And then Sunday was the actual wedding. And they actually, like, I don't know, it was, I don't know, it was kind of cute or something, whatever. Like, they had some good speeches and their vows they made themselves. It was kind of romantic and yeah, I don't know.
So it was nice. It was a good wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be more interesting to you at a
What?
wedding? A classically cute and romantic wedding like the one you're describing, or if the bride turned out to say something totally crazy at the altar, like psycho anime girl crazy.
No, this was interesting enough because, okay, so like I've told you this, right? Where my friend said that her mom's like Lucille Bluth, and her mom said, "Oh, that fits me perfectly." She was providing enough of like the dramatic like remarks so everyone could talk about at dinner, so it was fine. That was enough for me.
So real quick, by the way, I'm not sure if this is just like Moonlight Memories trying to help us out with one of our sponsors, or if he's genuinely curious. Zamgrib and I are supposed to be using the K70 keyboards from Corsair. We've got a new version out with rapid fire switches, which is kind of interesting. But if you guys want any of the Corsair gear we're currently using, if you click on the links down below on the Twitch page, they'll take you to the site where you can find them. Also, more importantly, before I forget, I recently started redoing our Twitch page. So there's a couple bits that still need to be fixed, like the subscribe button and other things, but everything down below should look a lot less cluttered and a little bit prettier to look at now.
Cool.
But okay, getting into game, in the bottom right side, it's going to be the blue Protoss, up 1-0 currently, Ting. It's Neeb, and he's attacking. Sorry, I forgot about his attack or defending.
In the top left has the red Protoss. He's puCK.
Of course, fighting for the Tal'Darim, aka Team Hearthstone. And Neeb is representing Team Drogo. So taking this time to just advertise, again, the t-shirts, teespring.com/Civil War, guys, will bring you to the site. You can also just click on the links down below in the stream. Some really cool shirts were designed for this, and I don't exactly expect us to sell a ton, but I would like to sell enough that the players get a decent-sized side pot to this. So let's say in a hypothetical world, $500 of t-shirts get sold for Team Tal'Darim. $250 of that's going to go directly to the players, whether they win or lose the tournament. Same to be said for Drogo's team and the Templars. So I'm hoping that this is a really cool... This is a test for us. Everything about this tournament, like, there's no aspect of this where we're not testing new waters, right? Trying to sell merchandise on the players' behalf because they're all stars in the tournament. Trying to create skins and cool elements to the game. And, of course, using old maps and reskinning some of the even newer ones. There's just so many things in the board game as well, instead of brackets. This whole tournament's a giant test, and I'm hoping we get all positives. I'm hoping that this all turns out to be really, really good and something we can continue doing in the future.
That's the hope.
Alright, so 2 Stalkers versus 2 Adepts to open is not super crazy. I do still favor the Adepts. Just on the off chance you actually get past your opponent into a mineral line, you're going to cause a lot of havoc.
Yeah, well, actually, not that I play Protoss or PvP that much, but I actually prefer the double Stalkers. It seems that, like, earlier on, of course, Protoss vs. Protoss was all about Adept Wars, especially as the Adepts went through balance changes, but the 2 Adept opening, it can get you scouting, it can get you a couple probe kills, that's for sure, as you said, if they can actually get past, but the Stalkers just always seem to find them and start, you know, and to deny them, just as they denied Neeb's Adepts attacks right here, right now. They're going to be useless. I mean, if puCK gets aggressive and doesn't, you know, defend his home correctly, just 2 Adepts could kill, like, 4+ probes, and you could really make a mistake, but of course he knows that, and he kept 2 other Stalkers at home. And it was just literally like poking and prodding and figuring out what you're all doing, which is basically the same thing as we can see on the production tab. Nexus around the same time, Robo around the same time, a little faster for Neeb. puCK's gonna go ahead and add on a Twilight Council a lot earlier, but I can't imagine Neeb's will be like that far behind. Of course, anything from the Twilight Council is pretty important in this matchup nowadays. Blink or Charge, if Neeb really wanted to change things up and go for Charge at Archon. But he is once again starting out with that War Prism. It worked out so well last game that it almost won him the game twice, in that it gave him some very favorable battles that maybe he could have snowballed with, but puCK had some really good responses himself, so that didn't quite win in the game, but it can, like, you know, 4 Adepts in the mineral line, 4 Adepts behind the army. It can be very, very effective, and of course it can help out with a push, which looks like puCK's now getting the War Prism, so I guess Neeb, yeah, he's pushing. He could use the Warp Prism for high ground. He could use it to elevate on that little corner that just has like no scouting whatsoever unless a probe gets transferred. Or that space, yeah.
Over here too.
Right, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking about this though, because remember, this is like where all the Terrans would unload every time we played on this map. So just think about how stealthy and sneaky it could be. But I actually, so it's funny you bring up the stalker opener. I don't want to go back too far into it, but I'm just wondering because Neeb does this again, right? Where before he had set up a flank with this time he's going to sentry the top of the ramp. Oh, this is so sick. This is so disgusting. There's no blink for puCK. There's no way for him to do anything about it. As long as Neeb doesn't miss the force field. I mean, in his best case scenario, he does this. He cuts off half the army, kills half instead of just blocking them all out. Even better than denying. But the second force field a little bit wasted. The overcharge is going to buy a little bit of time. But Neeb can also keep warping in sentries and keep buying time himself at the top of this ramp. puCK's got blink on the way, but it's... Even if he does blink up here to the high ground, it's such a low amount of stalkers. The warp prism going down is pretty harsh.
This is getting to just
he messes up the opportunity force field.
Well, yeah, he does, but there's actually a small army. Even with some mortal about to pop out.
I love that pickup to get everything out of there. But eating the overcharge, pulling the probes, I mean, Neeb's going to transfer off to the natural base. If he gets kills up here through the probes, that'll be really nice. But it looks like he's in full retreat mode at the moment.
I'm a little surprised he fully retreated. I thought that army, even with probes pulled, the immortal about to pop out, if he had warped in again, and maybe he didn't think he was going to be allowed to, like if he sniped or something like that, I thought he could actually take the fight. But Neeb playing a little bit safer. Behind this, he did get Toilet Council, so there is his blink finally. He's got immortals on the way himself now, and of course, more importantly, that third base.
puCK's about to lose all of his probes, though, because everything's been pulled across the map. Everything's going for the attack. There are a couple of overcharges here, potentially, but between the Psionic Transfer and this Warp Prism, getting out of here shouldn't be too much of a task. Yeah.
Just come back again.
puCK might have a really big army right now, but if he loses all of his probes, he won't be able to continue warping in, and he won't be able to fight going forward. The two Immortals for Neeb are out ready to defend. I think he should be okay to take a fight, especially with Overcharge on his side.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless puCK could do like similar shenanigans, and he almost did, as the sentries were lagging behind. Then Neeb should be able to definitely hold his two bases. I'd be very surprised if he actually lost this third, but maybe puCK can micro pretty well here. Looks like it. These adepts aren't doing too much.
I did pull the probes once again, so I mean, look at these income spikes for Neeb on the income graph right now. I mean, he's really... At first, there's a couple of probe kills, but now it's a couple of the probe kills and a lot of stunted production. Neeb's got a huge probe lead. Now, of course, 57 probes doesn't help you too much at two bases. That's just oversaturation and then some. But he was supposed to have his third, so nice cancel out of puCK, as he really needed that to get back into the income game.
Yeah. Again, a little surprising, but his force fields were pretty good against Neeb's army, and Neeb, I think, had his production wasn't quite set up yet, so more gateways are only just now finishing up. I think that he got a little... Like, that was a perfect timing, basically, for puCK to do that, since Neeb did not have cooldowns off and didn't have the gateway count. Now, he should. It's 7 gateways. That should be enough.
Well, he's also...
Are you zoomed up on the sentries?
No, on the Immortal, man. I was following around. It looks cool. I love these skins.
I was super confused.
Sorry, I mean, you weren't pretty... Okay, he's good at gateways. Sorry, if you want me to okay, here, guys, look, there's gateways. You happy?
Well, usually you show other things that are happening as opposed to just following a single unit around.
Sorry, it just looks really cool. I love these skins, man. I know you're not nearly as into this as I am, but...
I think that it's so awkward, even if you're really into it.
Yeah, whatever. It's like you just follow the pretty girl around, right? Like...
you're not supposed to do that. Please don't do that.
You look really cool.
Nope. Nope.
Oh, is that not how you pick up women? Okay, my bad. This explains a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Force Field's gonna push the Immortals out of the fight. There are 4 of them crowd walking around awkwardly for Neeb, but I mean, if those get into the fight, Neeb's gonna win this fight so easily. 4 Immortals to 3 on top of the fact that Stalkers are getting obliterated. Neeb can also still warp in here on the front lines. puCK gonna buy a little bit of time with that overcharge, but this is where Neeb says, okay, fine, I'll use this time to then attack your Nexus, and if you get drawn out of position, so be it. Turns around on those Stalkers, picks up in the Warp Prism as well. Fancy micro out of Neeb. Nice dancing around this third base.
Yeah. With that Warp Prism, I mean, the Immortal's even more immortal than their name. Like, they're going to be pretty powerful, and puCK shouldn't realize that. You joke. puCK's going to try and get some harassment done. I guess one of the bigger problems, besides, of course, that sentry shenanigan, that happened was the Adepts killing his probes and whatnot. So gonna try and return the damage a little bit, which might be possible. That third base has been transferred over to, and he could certainly get some DT harassment, but
it's a damn big army supply. He's just gonna blink up to the high ground and I guess elevator everything else up. We'll see if another force field goes down to trap these out. The sentry's certainly in range. Goes for the Guardian Shield instead. But picking up all the Immortals and blinking some of the Stalkers through a Warp Prism pickup, I guess you could call it. He's winning this fight against puCK pretty hard. puCK's down to almost no supply left. Upgrades just finished for Neeb too, so he's got +1 on his side. GG. Game number 2 is going to go to Neeb. Alright, so Neeb is on the attack, and if he wins one more game, he will claim the middle tile. puCK will be sent back to the capital city, and he'll have to wait a few turns to play again. People say no shout out for nice username. Absolutely shout outs for nice username. We couldn't pay him higher praise. I came up with this idea a little over 2 or 4 months ago, actually. And I started working with someone else who just didn't have time to do this mod. But nice username, for those who don't know, has basically spent 2 months, not straight, not like 24/7 hours a day where he's working himself to death, guys. Don't get me wrong, he did a lot of work, but for 2 months he's been working on this mod with me kind of in secret. And I think the hardest part was really keeping it secret from everybody. So I'm really glad that we finally got to debut this last week, that we get to play on this again this week. Lots of cool stuff going on. But puCK will get to select the map once again. While he figures out his map selection, we'll go to a break. And rather than the break screen, I'll leave you guys with a board game screen. So we'll see you guys in 2 minutes. Alright folks, we're back just in time for that countdown to start. We're going to be hopping into Ruins of Ceres, but Ruins of Ceres has been reskinned to fit the theme of this tournament and make it a little bit more Protossy. So this one is called Ceres Station. And Avex, as you can see titled in the name of the map, was the one who helped us do this. So shoutouts to him and thank you, because this map is, in every essence, Ruins of Ceres. It's a map these guys have both played on in the beta versions of the game. It's really no different other than the simple textures and retexturing. So, without further ado, in the upper right spawn location of Ceres Station, this frosty map, it's going to be the blue Protoss Tings Neeb.
in the top left now is the red Protoss. He's puCK.
And of course, puCK is on his last life. If he loses this game, he will have to relinquish control of the middle of the board. This gives his opponent's team a little bit of an advantage, potentially. What I want to talk about for that is the fact that we're going to be re-rolling turn order. The idea is that every single new day, so like not every turn, but every new day that we're doing another event for the Civil War, there'll be a new order in which players will be moving. And we're just going to roll that through a randomizer. Now, last time it worked out pretty well, because it was like one, then the other, one, then the other, one, then the other. But the games and the movement starts changing a lot. If you have 3 people on the same team going at the same time, like so let's say it is, after this, the reroll, it's Neeb, Drogo, Lilbao in that order. Suddenly it becomes a lot easier to get aggressive and on the offensive. So controlling the middle of the board is going to be really important depending on how the rerolls go. Now there's one last chance for Tal'Darim. Like, I'm assuming puCK loses here, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to do it to be mean, but let's just assume this hypothetical, puCK loses. The Tal'Darim still have a chance with Showtime. Showtime's the last person to go in this turn order before we reroll a new set of turns. And if Showtime can attack into Neeb and defeat Neeb and take control of Rakshir once again, once more, huge advantage to the team that has players moving one after another instead of back and forth, back and forth. Mm-hmm. That's when you can sort of start leapfrogging over territories and attacking into new ones.
Yeah. I feel like there is a bit of emphasis, like too much emphasis right now, as they both teams, I suppose, are figuring out the game and whatnot on the middle of the board. I do wonder whether they're going to either recognize or just say that it's not important. Maybe like they'll just straight up tell us like, yeah, it doesn't matter, that they can start taking the actual tab icons.
I don't want to give away too much of what, because again, the other team might have players listening and watching and chilling, but I did talk to one of the captains, or sorry, not one of the captains, one of the players of the teams, and they said that their team had a strategy for the actual board itself. So there's at least 1 to possibly 2 people that are thinking beyond just simply fighting and scrapping out as much as possible.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah, I can't give away too much, guys, because this really is a tournament that could go on for a very long time, and if we give out too much information in today's VODs and then like the other team hears it, then I've helped one of the teams win, and we don't want to influence the actual tournament itself in that way. But I love that there is at least some strategic thinking to it. Regardless, we do have the game changing up quite a bit as puCK has gone for a proxy Stargate.
Yeah, yeah. Not too uncommon to see in PvP. So we'll see if anything else is added though. Is that the probes need to kind of be posturing and put on also a gateway, and that would be a very aggressive opener and maybe even all in if it's actually gonna be the gateway, and then maybe another one back at home, and suddenly you're trying to bust the front of Neeb's base. Now Neeb does throw down a Nexus. I don't think he's gotten much scouting, as either of them opened up with the depths. I guess his probe got in here actually, and stayed one for quite a while. So it's a very typical opener though to see two gateways. That's actually what Neeb did as well. So not much scouting beyond that means that Neeb possibly could have been caught off guard. Usually the Mothership Core is kept in the main base, however.
So this isn't a big gateway attack. But let me ask you: do you think he was in right with that first Oracle, or do you think he stacks up to 2?
I think he just goes right in.
Because we did see Drogo doing a lot of double Oracle stuff in some of his matches, not all of his matches, but...
Didn't he go in one after the other, though? He didn't wait.
Oh, you know what? You're right. That's my bad. Actually, I was misremembering which match I was thinking of. So, you're right. He did go in first, came out with the second one barely alive, and then went back in with 2. But regardless, the question would be like whether a second one gets made or not. It looks like puCK so far not thinking about it. It doesn't have the gas, at least. But Oracles can do so much damage. And there's a lot of talk. If you guys remember, there's a big movement Morrow was trying to start with saying, like, you should change what, like, classification the Oracle was, make it armored so they're easier to kill, because right now they're too devastating, and yada yada yada. Worth noting, by the way, the trigger finger on that may have been a little too quick. puCK didn't even have a chance to trigger his pulsar beam, so this Oracle has an abnormally large amount of energy.
Yeah, I think it's like a mind game's always going to exist. You're gonna have the person who got the Oracle actually not pop it and hope that they think that they've gone forever, and then maybe not even warp in. Not Neeb. Neeb only popped it to warp in his stalkers and make sure he has adequate defense. And for him, it's not really that bad if he doesn't have any like presence out on the map. Like he wants to know something, and he is sending a probe over for that reason. Or maybe not. No, he is. Oh, place down a pylon first.
Oh, they posted estimate the pylons in chat. These are like the rocks. They're destructible rocks at the bottom. There's normally, in this instance, Avex has chosen to put a pylon to continue with the Protoss theme of things, and I think it looks way cooler than random ass rocks.
It does. I guess some people might have thought like it's gonna be some like effect here, like a neutral pylon. It's not. It's just you have to kill it to get any buildings down there, which they might never do.
I love the snow blowing too, by the way. Like again, just small little touches, but you know when you cast the map that Avex has made, it's gonna be pretty for absolute certain.
Yeah, aesthetics. Yeah.
Doug said, I mean, like probe kills are really not racking up for puCK, but Neeb is a little bit behind on probes, and it'll continue doing this for a while. And most importantly, this has made Neeb leave chunks of his army in his mineral lines, right? Like the Mothership Core has to stay over here with the pylons, a couple stalkers and a sentry here at all times, because he can't afford to let that observer go. So when it comes down to army supply, like the cost of like what's an Oracle, like 2-3 supply for the cost of like close to 10-15, like this is actually something that's really beneficial for him.
But as I was saying, like he got the probe in there, he made sure puCK was expanding, first and foremost, then also kind of saw what the army looked like. It's not really an army that can take on, although he's a snipe a couple of units. That's actually pretty nice for Neeb. And he has some presence, despite also defending against an Oracle, which I think, non-pro gamers basically will just defend against the Oracle and probably let their opponent do something kind of extreme, like get a third base or get tech or something like that.
Where is puCK's Mothership Core? That's the real question right now. A little bit late to the party. Overcharge comes down, but not before a couple of probes die.
It's revenge.
I mean, the probe count's still somewhat even, 43-44. It's not crazy. No one's ducking for a third base yet, but the fact that puCK's taking any damage at all is certainly a bit alarming to him.
Yeah, I mean, like, seriously. Ideally, this will never happen. He might send his army out to the middle of the map to kind of like prep and scout, but he won't actually be controlling it as well or doing any damage. He's too busy macroing the other side of the field, but Neeb's doing a really nice job. So is puCK for using this Oracle continuously, by the way, like still alive, very impressive. It's gone up against 3 Photon overcharges now and always gotten away, still about half health. So both of them are controlling this game, I guess, correctly and impressively, but Neeb is getting little bits of, just good stuff going on, I guess, like little bits of maybe a couple more probes, maybe a couple more army supply. He's got a faster upgrade. Looks like he's gonna have faster production as well.
Okay, so Oracle barely gets out of there alive. Revelations will be nice to throw down. puCK's starting to move out with his army, though, and he's got a pretty nice army. I had a shower thought just now, though. You know how they say marijuana is like the gateway drug to harder stuff, like heroin and whatnot? I just was saying this statement relative to StarCraft would be very confusing. That Immortals are the gateway units to Disruptors.
Yeah, they would be super confusing because they're the gateway unit. Originally they were. The more you know.
Were they actually? I mean, I thought I knew a
Yeah.
good chunk about the beta, but I didn't realize those were in gateways.
Yeah, you could warp them in, but you could also warp in stuff from the Robo. So
Well,
they changed two things.
Was it like Artanis can do that in multiplayer?
Yeah.
Co-op. That's kind of cool. Oh, it's gonna lose this one immortal. That's gonna suck for puCK. He does have to back away from this for a moment. That immortal is a pretty big element to the army too. It's not the same as having 3 or 4, but still losing that first one tips the scales now 1 to 3. And Neeb has so many immortals, but more importantly, so many sentries.
Yeah, he has, I think, definitely the advantage here if they ever took a fight. So that's why puCK just backs off pretty wisely. The army supplies is like, 10 doesn't look that bad. Oh, privilege. The army supplies really don't look that bad. Actually, they just gotta get the increase. There we go. So they don't look that bad right now. But I feel like Neeb's army is just better. He's got the control of the Warp Prism now as well. He's been getting just leads here and there that are very small, but certainly have been adding up.
Yeah.
And now with that upgrade, I think he is looking for an attack. puCK's force fields have to be pretty darn important, pretty darn good. And they are.
Not a bad start, but that's where that War Prism comes into play. You start picking up and unloading and saving some of the units. He was a little bit late on that one immortal, but he did ultimately save it at the end of the day.
puCK goes for the double robo long before he goes for Robotics Bay, which is probably the smarter choice after getting beat back like he did around that third base. Probably knew an attack was on the way. Nice type of that War Prism. Takes away Neeb's micro capabilities, or at least some of it.
Also, his reinforcement capabilities, which is important as well. I mean, he could technically warp in up here, but it'd be a slow warp in as there's no gateway attached to that pylon.
Yeah. I think this, they both recognize that they're not really going to end the game here, but they might have been able to snowball with appropriate Warp Prism or maybe some force fields from puCK, and then Neeb had to back off. But they're both still going for this macro game. Of course, puCK now still trying to get 2 immortals at a time, really wants a high immortal count. He's really fallen behind on the Forge, I guess. I didn't even realize he didn't even have one. And Neeb's already on his way to +2. And he is going to fall behind on the Disruptor attack soon enough, as Robotics Bay finishes up for Neeb.
Well, just warping in back at home rather than warping in up here to the north.
Yeah, I think that's just for DTs later on, or Zealots, or what have you. I mean, puCK, the days of looking for proxy pylons against Protoss have really just fallen. You don't necessarily have to unless you're constantly being annoyed by a slow warp in, which just doesn't happen as commonly anymore. So that pylon might just live forever, which is great for it. Looks like puCK is the one with the Observer here. I guess Neeb never replaced his in his army after the Blink Stalker attack.
So I don't know what our mods are doing, but sorry guys, there's a little bit of chat to subscriber mode for a moment because it looks like we got that spammer back. It's been what, 3 months now that we've been dealing with this guy? Something like that?
I suppose, yeah.
And let's assume, can someone go do math? This guy, we cast literally every day. This guy makes about 3 to 5 new accounts every time to ban evade. And Twitch has said nothing about it. At some point, when does it finally become too costly for Twitch to stop ignoring the problem?
I think it's going to be a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it costs him that much.
He's got this joke, right, where it's like, at what point does this racist locksmith stop being racist when he realizes he's losing too much business? He's like, if I didn't hate Koreans, I'd be so rich right now. Okay, shots getting fired, but a big concave spreads out, and puCK's certainly got a lot of stalkers to fight with, but he's down in upgrades, and that +2 for Neeb on top of these immortals are going to make those stalker counts not so bad, despite the fact that he's down almost 10. In fact, he is down over 10 stalkers himself now.
And they both go into the double disruptor. puCK gets a 4th base. Oh, no, never mind. They just took both 4th bases in different locations. Okay, so 4th bases are around the same time for both players. Again, Neeb with such an extreme upgrade advantage. Might never play a part. Of course, disruptors do take precedence for that. If you get a disrupt shot, that doesn't matter if you have a +2 or +3 upgrade, but it's also a lot to do with the stalker fights that happen after all the disruptors have burned their attack. Oh, bye.
Awkward disruptors are awkward. This is what makes these fights. So there's really cool dynamics to this, right? And the disruptor wars we've seen go to really cool extremes. But at the end of the day, it really does. It almost has to get infuriating for the players, where oh, I was 0.1 second late with my disruptor shot, so I'm gonna lose that disruptor fight now.
Oh yeah,
that's never fun.
I don't know how Protoss players do it, to be honest.
I would be I would just quit the game. Like I've had struggles with Terran throughout the whole course of Terran sucking and winning and sucking, right? Never have I ever been as tilted as I am watching people play with Disruptor.
Yeah, this is frustrating.
I would not be able to handle this myself, so credit to the players. Watch star control, by the way, in the favor of Neeb this whole fight. Really like that choice. Now it's going to give that up and start backing away. But the Stalkers, got to be careful. A lot of these guys blinking, going to have those on cooldown. And, of course, blinks on cooldown. Your Disruptors are going to go in a really good way. We do have a small change-up, though. Neeb, I want to point out, he's going for a Stargate behind this. The Runes of Ceres being the bigger map that it is. I was actually hoping we'd see it go this direction. Not because I don't think puCK should or shouldn't. Oh, he's getting his own Stargate right now as well. Nicely timed. But we've seen time in and time again, like, puCK is not... This seems to be like the one part of the aspect he's not well versed in. Like, he's still good at this, and he's good with Stargate units, and I'm never going to say otherwise. But it feels like everyone else just has more practice than him at it.
He's usually very hesitant to go that direction. Like, I guess he thinks he can either, like, end it before, or, like, hope to catch them in a transition, which is certainly a weak time for anyone, you know, Portos or whatever. But he just never seems to and gets stuck just being behind. But in this case, he's actually on par as long as he can get the fleet beacon down. I mean, Neeb tried to go into Stargate on Rakshir, actually, but then everything got a little topsy-turvy and never used his Stargate for anything. So I guess they realized they're going to have like an impasse in the middle. No one's really gaining any ground here, not able to push into each other's fourths either. Really nice split here from Neeb to defend. Oh, and really nice shots on those Disruptors. I guess puCK was not expecting such multitasking, such a good split from Neeb. And
he was, I mean, both players were dancing around in two different locations. You had puCK running away to the north and Neeb giving chase while those Disruptors went off. It was going to be split-second stuff either way. But, man, 3 Stargates off of 4 bases is certainly something Neeb can afford.
Yeah, he has quite a big bank. And after that Disruptor shot, he still has a significant army supply lead, so puCK's not gonna find that time where he's transitioning and you know, lower on gas and minerals. He's just gonna fall behind more and more on this tech. And of course, when Tempests come out, unless they find themselves in a bad open position, which is certainly possible on Ruins, there's a couple of those, it's gonna be very hard to kill them, to stop them from just killing your Disruptors.
Well, still seeing these shots just fire back and forth. No one really able to take any ground here, and once those Tempests finally come out, we might see the game start changing in a bit. I am curious if this will stay strictly Tempest, or if we'll see some Carriers or Void Rays even, because I would love to see some Tal'Darim Void Rays, but...
I think only if puCK was also going for Stargate, which we thought he was, and then he never got to really go any further.
Right, he went for the 1, but I guess there was no scouting going on to realize that Neeb had actually gone for 1 as well, but not just 1, but 3. puCK's going to try and turn this into a bit of a trade out because he needs to take that base back for the one he lost. But I want to point out, Neeb and puCK are still expanding while this goes on. So both players are still playing this game on a very even footing. It's so weird to consider that.
It's literally a base for a base here. Now Neeb's going to try and catch his probes with his army, but unfortunately Disruptors had created a rift right there. So okay, they're just going to chill out. Oh my god.
Gets the explosive Stalkers have got to dance around, but most of the Disruptors for puCK are gone now. He's left with 2 remaining, one of them at the top of the ramp, and the other one, I think, with the army. No, I guess the other one's back at home through production as well. Now if it comes down to fights, Neeb's not only got a +3 weapon upgrade advantage over a +2 from puCK, he's also got shields. Now this is an interesting choice not to go for armor, but to go for shields, because those will benefit the Tempests. And speaking of which, here comes the Tempest. Problem are, though, they're a little bit exposed. The Disruptors don't know the Stalkers have Blink on cooldown, and puCK loses a good chunk of his Stalker army for this. And while this continues to go on, GG's gets called. Ladies and gentlemen, the Templar will reclaim the center of the map.
Very nice. Update it.
All right, so this creates an interesting spot now for... I'm going to update the board real quick. For the Tal'Darim, because they're left with 1 player left who can go this turn before we re-roll, and that's going to be Showtime. And Showtime actually is in a position on the map where he can attack into the center. So it's not at all impossible for him to go for that. Alternatively, though, they might want to go around it or some other direction. They don't have to attack the center is the key point I want to make. But also, this will send puCK back home. I'll do all the movement in a second, guys. I'm trying to actually get these tiles on the board so it's colored appropriately. Should have just originally made hexagons with the size of the board instead of resizing them. That would have made more sense.
Good
deal.
deal.
You know, whatever. All right, let's bring the board back up. All right, so with this having been a loss, puCK will now be sent back to the capital alongside Hearthstone, and Neeb will reclaim Rakshir in the favor of the Templar. Now this gives Templar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles on the board to the 4 of Tal'Darim. We're nowhere close to anyone having board control. We're nowhere close to that 12 tile win scenario. But the question now goes into what's going to happen for them. Are they going to send Showtime into the middle? How is this going to go? But we're going to go to a break. Before we do, though, guys, I do want to advertise the shirts once again. Here's a quick look at them. Here's the Team Drogo shirt. Looks fantastic. This, of course, again, half the proceeds from all these shirts will go to the players. The full breakdown is like half of it goes to the players, 25% to the artist, 15% to like taxes and transaction fees, and then whatever's left, like 10-ish% goes to us. We're not looking to make money. We don't want to make money on these shirts, guys. Really, we want to make sure that the players do, though. So please consider if you're on Team Tal'Darim or Team Drogo. Now, to tell you guys the total tallies of the shirts, funny enough, both teams have sold exactly 10. So looks like 5 from Europe and 5 from North America for Hearthstone, and then 3 from Europe, oddly enough, and 7 from North America for Drogo. Anyways, those numbers should display once either of the actual sections go above 10. But go to a small break while we figure out what the players want to do next. We'll see you guys soon with more of the Civil War.